Lately, life has been moving along in a way that feels familiar, days flowing into each other, thoughts coming, then quietly leaving. And yet, in the middle of everything that feels ordinary, one small detail has been showing up more often than you expected. A very brief moment, a number appearing, then disappearing, not asking for an explanation, not asking you to believe or to dismiss it, just a faint sense that your eyes paused a little longer than usual. And when your attention begins to slow down, a gentle question takes shape. Is this simply coincidence, or could it be a subtle reminder meant just for your inner journey? In this video, we're going to sit with that feeling, to listen to those very small signals, and to let the story unfold in the most natural way possible. So now, let's begin with the very first moment your gaze chose to linger. Libra. Everything usually begins very softly, so softly that no one thinks it needs to be remembered. A glance passing across a screen, a brief moment in the middle of an ordinary busy day. Then, a familiar sequence of numbers appears, right as your mind is drifting somewhere else. Not because you were searching, not because you were waiting. Your eyes simply pause for one breath longer than usual. Libra has always lived among subtle movements like these. You sense the smallest shifts in the air. You notice when a sentence feels unfinished. You understand when someone needs to be heard more than they need an answer. And in that same way, this moment arrives, not dramatic, not rushed. It simply shows up, then appears again. The first time, yet your mind moves past it quickly. The second time, your gaze slows down. The next time, a quiet sense of familiarity begins to form. No label is needed, no explanation is required, just a very gentle question rising from within. Why am I noticing this? Libra often spends a great deal of energy keeping everything in balance. You choose your words carefully. You adjust your reactions. You stay silent to preserve peace on both sides. Yet, in moments this small, a private space opens. No one else is watching, only you and a stream of thoughts beginning to slow. Repeated numbers, in the end, are simply images. Their meaning lives elsewhere. It lives in the rhythm of your heartbeat when your eyes meet them, in the feeling that is both familiar and unfamiliar, in a rare pause inside a well-worn routine. Libra lives more through feeling than through words. You know that not everything needs an immediate answer. Some experiences only ask to be acknowledged, left undisturbed, felt in their own time. This moment is no different. It doesn't demand change. It doesn't push for a decision. It gently invites your attention to turn inward. When your gaze pauses, when your thoughts settle, a small opening appears. Inside that opening, you begin to notice what was once overlooked. A lingering exhaustion, a desire that was never named. A part of yourself that hasn't been checked in on for a long while. Not every sign carries a clear message. Not every repetition needs a grand explanation. Often, the value lies in recognizing where you stand in your own journey. Libra was born to seek balance, but balance doesn't mean holding everything in place. Balance can mean noticing a very slight misalignment, then allowing yourself to gently adjust the rhythm. Numbers appearing in everyday life, in such simple ways, only suggest that your attention is shifting from the outside toward the inside. And as that attention turns inward, a quiet conversation begins. No words, no conclusions, just full presence with yourself. That is where the story truly begins, not with explanations, but with staying still long enough to listen. Libra steps into life with a deeply intuitive way of sensing the world. You don't need things spelled out to understand. A pair of eyes lowering slightly, a silence lasting longer than expected, a subtle change in someone's tone of voice. All of it reaches you naturally. You've grown used to listening to others before listening to yourself. You place yourself in everyone else's position in the room. You weigh the shared emotional space instead of asking what your inner world might need. Over time, this becomes instinct, a beautiful instinct, a quality that makes people feel safe in your presence. And yet, because of that very gift, many parts within Libra have been gently set aside, not from a lack of care, but from prioritizing harmony around you. Recently, a different kind of movement has begun to form, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet sense that familiar energy is shifting direction. Instead of focusing entirely on the outer world, your gaze turns inward more often. Thoughts once ignored begin to resurface. Old emotions knock softly, without demanding explanation. Libra starts to realize that listening to yourself was never your strongest habit. Not from lack of ability, but from not having given it enough space. Repeated numbers appear in everyday life, in the most ordinary way, like a small pause within constant motion. They don't need immediate analysis. They don't ask for absolute belief. Their presence simply suggests that your attention is being called inward, like a very gentle knock on a door, not meant to draw notice, only to remind you that something inside is still waiting to be heard. Libra listens to others with full presence, but when attention turns inward, silence can feel unfamiliar. At first, that silence brings uncertainty. No one needs an answer. No one needs reassurance. Only your own thoughts remain. Within that space, questions arise that were never asked before. How do I feel when I'm not trying to please anyone? What am I truly hoping for from this life? How long have I been holding balance for everyone else? These questions aren't meant to create pressure. They open the door to honesty, a gentle honesty, free of judgment. Libra slowly discovers that listening inward doesn't take harmony away. It makes harmony more real. When the inner world is acknowledged, your relationship with the outside world feels lighter. In this story, the repeating numbers serve only as accents, a reminder that your focus is shifting, that it's time to offer some of your energy back to yourself, not to separate from others, not to withdraw from the world, only to rebalance the direction of your gaze. Libra was born to connect, but lasting connection always begins with inner understanding. When you know where you stand emotionally, every interaction outside becomes clearer. And so, a new journey opens. Without urgency, without labels, just a return to the deepest form of listening Libra possesses. Listening to yourself. For Libra, life rarely takes the shape of a sudden collision. It doesn't arrive through dramatic events that turn everything upside down in an instant. It chooses another way, a gentler way, a quieter one, like a voice lowering itself in the middle of a crowded room, just enough for someone truly listening to sense its presence. Libra has always lived among many layers of sound, the voices of others, the expectations of the environment around you, social standards of balance and composure. Within those layers, life's whisper is easy to miss. It doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't demand an immediate response. It simply appears, then returns, waiting for the moment you're ready to hear it. That whisper often takes very ordinary forms. A thought that comes back at the end of the day, when everything has finally settled. An emotion held in a neutral state for too long, until weariness quietly sets in. A question forming inside, without an answer yet, and not willing to disappear. Libra begins to see that these small details aren't meant to disrupt. They're meant to reflect. Like a still lake mirroring the sky, repetition in daily life reflects the rhythm within you. That rhythm once moved quickly, quick enough to keep pace with others, quick enough to maintain harmony, quick enough to avoid disappointing anyone. Then one day, that rhythm slows. Not abruptly, not in a way that draws attention, just slightly slower than before. And within that slower pace, subtle signals become easier to notice. The repeating numbers, in this story, aren't meant as predictions. They resemble the steady ticking of an old clock in a quiet room, not urging you forward, not warning you of danger, simply reminding you that time is moving to a different rhythm. Libra starts to realize that adjustment doesn't always require major change. Sometimes, adjustment is awareness. Looking again at how your energy is being distributed, questioning what has been given priority. Life whispers when you've drifted too far from your own center. It whispers when outer balance is maintained by sacrificing inner feeling. It whispers when a part of you longs to be acknowledged, yet has never been asked. Libra understands deeply that harmony is not a fixed state. Harmony is fluid movement between different needs. Harmony is knowing when to continue and when to recalibrate. The small signals appearing in life don't ask you to stop entirely. They simply invite you to slow by one beat, slow enough to feel, slow enough to listen. And within that slowing, you begin to distinguish the voice of the world from the voice that belongs to you. Libra has always been skilled at sensing subtle differences. Now, that ability turns inward. A new awareness begins to take shape. No label required, no declaration needed. Just an understanding that life always communicates in its own way. Not through obvious signs, but through very gentle repetitions, just enough for someone paying attention to recognize when direction needs adjustment. From that moment on, Libra no longer sees small details as coincidence. They become invitations into deeper presence with life as it unfolds. A journey without noise, without display, just honest. Libra grew up with a familiar idea of balance. Everything needed to remain steady, not leaning too far to either side, keeping emotions within safe boundaries. That sense of stability once carried you through many seasons of life. It offered reassurance. It kept relationships running smoothly. It turned you into a source of support for many people. But as time passed, a new awareness began to form. Balance doesn't mean staying in one place forever. Balance is a subtle movement between needs that continue to change. Libra begins to notice that holding everything in place for too long can quietly exhaust the inner world. Not because the outside world is too heavy, but because your own needs have been pushed aside again and again. When attention is always directed outward, signals from within are easy to miss, not from a lack of sensitivity, simply because listening to others has become a reflex. In that context, repeating numbers appear like a very small pause within a familiar current, not meant to disrupt order, only meant to suggest that an inner rhythm is asking for adjustment. A Libra is used to accommodating many directions at once. You weigh each person's feelings. You work to keep peace in every situation. You believe shared harmony matters more than personal desire. Yet, when the question, "What about me?" begins to echo, a new door opens. Not a door leading to selfishness, a door leading to honesty. That honesty isn't comfortable at first. It asks you to look directly at what was once set aside, fatigue that was never named, desires postponed out of fear of upsetting the balance. Libra realizes that acknowledging misalignment doesn't erase your gentle nature. It makes that gentleness more real. True balance doesn't come from controlling every movement. It comes from sensing when direction needs to shift. Like a person balancing on a wire, stability is achieved through countless small, continuous adjustments. The repeating signals in daily life serve only as mirrors. They give no commands. They pass no judgment. They simply reflect the current state of your rhythm. Libra begins to understand that questioning yourself doesn't damage your connections with others. It strengthens the foundation of every bond. When the inner world is finally heard, choices become clearer. There's no longer a need to strain to maintain familiar roles. No pressure to uphold a flawless image. A new form of balance gradually takes shape. Not static, not rigid, but flexible, shifting with each phase of life. Libra allows gentle movement, allows personal needs to exist alongside shared responsibility, allows emotions to be acknowledged without justification. And within that movement, harmony returns in a deeper way. Not harmony created by suppression, but harmony born from understanding. In this story, the repeating numbers are simply quiet punctuation, a pause between life's rhythms, a reminder that balance must be updated for who you are now, not who you once were. Libra doesn't lose the gift of connection. You expand it by connecting inward, and from there, the road ahead feels lighter, unrushed, unpressured, just honest. When your eyes land on a familiar sequence of numbers, what truly matters is not the symbol itself. Numbers, by nature, are neutral. They carry no intention, they don't tell their own story. The story only begins in the moment you become aware of their presence. Libra tends to search for meaning with careful consideration. You think before reaching conclusions. You observe before trusting. You understand that every symbol needs its own context. And that context is where meaning actually takes shape. When your gaze pauses, where is your mind? What direction are your thoughts drifting toward? What tone does your inner feeling carry? Those questions matter more than any explanation offered from the outside. Because when the same image appears, each person feels it in a different way. For one person, it passes by unnoticed. For another, it becomes a point of contact that slows the mind. Libra belongs to the second group. You don't rush through experience. You register subtle vibrations. You notice when your inner world responds to what seems perfectly ordinary. That moment often aligns with an inner transition, the close of a long day, a choice waiting to be named, a quiet fatigue that's never been spoken aloud. No explanation required, no label needed, only awareness of your present state. In this picture, numbers serve as reflective surfaces. Like a mirror placed in front of you, they show where your attention is pointing. When the inner world feels calm, the image passes with ease. When uncertainty lives inside, attention naturally lingers longer. Libra understands the difference between reaction and intuition. Reaction grows from habit. Intuition appears when the mind is still enough to listen. When you notice something repeating, inner space opens very briefly. Just one beat, but enough to feel your true condition. Within that brief beat, you might sense a need for rest, or feel hesitation asking for more time, or recognize a desire that has never been prioritized. Not every experience arrives to push action. Some appear only to bring awareness. That awareness over time creates gentle adjustments in the way you live. Libra believes in harmony, but harmony is not something imposed from the outside. It forms when you understand your inner responses moment by moment. Repeating numbers don't ask you to believe in anything specific. They don't need pre-written interpretations. Their value lives in the second you allow yourself to feel. In that second, you return to yourself. No role to perform, no expectation to meet, only full presence with what is happening. Libra slowly realizes that the most meaningful answers always rise from listening inward. No loud advice required, no bold declarations needed. Only enough honesty to acknowledge what is truly being felt. And so, the message no longer lives in the numbers. It lives in the moment you recognize what you are feeling, in a brief but genuine connection with yourself. That moment, though small, carries the weight of awareness. It doesn't change life all at once, but it changes how you move forward. Libra doesn't need to search for meaning far away. Meaning is always present in how you look, how you feel, and how you allow yourself to pause long enough to listen. As the story reaches this point, there isn't much left that needs to be explained. What has appeared throughout this journey was never meant to lead you to a single conclusion. It simply places you in a deeper state of attention toward the rhythm of life as it's unfolding. The images that repeat in everyday life, whether they come as numbers, moments, or familiar sensations, all carry the same gentle invitation. Slow down by one beat. Not to stop completely, not to withdraw from the world, only to adjust how you show up in each moment. Libra often moves forward with careful consideration. You think things through. You weigh every factor. You want each choice to feel balanced for others and for yourself. But inner growth doesn't follow a straight line. It moves to its own rhythm, a rhythm shaped by seasons of life, by what you've lived through, and by how honest you allow yourself to be with your own emotions. If recently you've noticed your attention lingering on very small details, see that as a pause placed exactly where it belongs. That pause doesn't ask for a major decision. It doesn't force immediate change. It simply reminds you that your current rhythm is asking to be heard. Slow down slightly to notice what's been tiring your inner world. Listen to what you're truly feeling without the filters of roles, responsibilities, or expectations. Allow yourself to adjust your pace, even through changes that seem small. Those adjustments don't take away Libra's gentle nature. They give it greater strength. When you respect your inner needs, your outer relationships begin to feel clearer and more honest. There's no longer a need to strain to hold balance for everyone. No longer pressure to maintain a flawless image. Libra understands that lasting harmony doesn't come from avoiding inner tension. It forms when you're willing to acknowledge your inner movements with kindness and sincerity. You don't need absolute belief in any system of explanation. You don't need to dismiss your own experiences either. What matters is your ability to be fully present with what's happening inside. Self-growth doesn't unfold overnight. It's built from countless small moments where you choose to listen instead of turning away. Libra was born to seek harmony, but harmony doesn't mean everything stays perfectly balanced at all times. It lives in your ability to return to yourself whenever life's rhythm begins to drift. When you're patient with yourself, the answers gradually become clearer, not as words, but as a sense of calm that follows you forward. And if one day your eyes pause again on a familiar detail, allow yourself a quiet smile. No need to name it, no need to explain it, just recognize that you're awake enough to listen to yourself. That alone is a beautiful step forward on the journey of being human.